Hello, I'm Dr. Amy Stoeber. I'm a licensed psychologist and co-host of the MotherLoad, Not Your Mother's Parenting Advice. Recently, and not so recently, there's been a lot of media coverage regarding race relations in our country. Our hearts break and feel heavy as we watch the news in confusion and despair. We know that parents want to talk to their children about what's happening and make sense of the violence that's happening in our country. There's a lot of social media frenzy with messages encouraging people to talk about racism, recognize white privilege, and acknowledge the Black Lives Matter movement. But there's not a lot about how to do so in a manner that's appropriate for children. There aren't many narratives out there for parents to discuss the heart of these matters. First, let me say that I'm a white woman speaking to white parents about ways to talk to their children about race and privilege. I believe it's important for white parents to speak to their children about these issues and that parents want to. Certainly, I am not the expert on racial identity development, but I am an expert on child development and talking with kids, and I want to help begin conversations about how to talk to children about race. Here are some ideas about how to begin these conversations. Talk about race with your children. There is no research that supports that not talking about race actually helps. Sometimes, with good intentions, white parents don't talk to their children about race because they're hoping to raise their children colorblind. Folks, there is no research to support that this actually works. Parents of Black children and brown children are shown to talk to their children about race earlier in life and more frequently than their white counterparts. And children as young as 11 months discern race differences. Children as young as 3 show curiosity about these differences and even begin to include or exclude based on race. What this means is it allows a great opportunity to begin conversations early with your children. Decide what your value system is and talk about it regularly. Then follow up with actions. Children learn through modeling. How you talk to and about people of other races and other ethnicities, this matters. What you do and how you talk greatly influences your children's perception of others. This includes speaking up when you hear others making racist remarks, even if there are no Black people around. Who you spend time with, how you talk about other faiths and ethnicities, from the types of jokes you tell to the judgment of how people dress, all influence how your children see diversity. Educate yourself. There is so much information available about race, racial identity development, and white identity development. Read books like Why Do All the Black Kids Sit Together in the Cafeteria? Or Poe Bronson's book, Nurture Shock. Visit websites such as the Southern Poverty Law Center. However you get your information, begin to sit with it. Educate yourself about these issues related to race. Then create a narrative that works for you and your child. The narrative I use to talk with my kids and kids in my practice goes something like this. Imagine playing a game where players had different rules, and that players didn't get to decide whether or not they wanted to play the game or what rules they got to follow. This is what happens to Black moms and white moms. They've been given different rules to the same game, and they're expected to teach their children these rules and live by them. When I talk to children about this, they quickly realize this is unfair, and I encourage these types of discussions. Then I might follow up with something like, imagine how it would feel if not following those rules might make you unsafe, or hurt, or afraid. One child said to me recently, the Black mamas must be very sad and angry a lot. How do they protect their children from these rules? And then we talk about that, honestly. And then I propose, what if the white people could change the game and make the rules the same so that everyone had a game that was fair and safe? Not one child takes issue with this, and they get very excited and hopeful about ways to change the rules of the game. So be honest. I give honest examples to clients and children about events, obviously in a developmentally appropriate way, but honest nonetheless. Talk to your children about privilege and the responsibilities that go along with privilege. Like the analogy of the game, I think it's important to talk to white kids, not just about race and differences, not just about tolerance for others, but actually accepting the differences and embracing them, and acknowledging that being white gives us more opportunities and safety just because we're white. This means that we have to speak up With all of the national discussions on bullying, children easily grasp the concept of being a bystander. Not recognizing privilege and allowing racism in your presence is being a bystander to someone else's hurt. Talk to kids about inter-race differences and intra-race differences. What this means is that over periods of time, if you point out how not all white people like the same things, not all black people do either. As well, not all white people behave the same, nor do all black people. Children will learn to not create generalizations based on race. On the other hand, talk to kids about how white kids and black kids are similar, that they like similar things and have similar values. When I talk to kids about race, using the analogy with the game that has different rules, kids easily talk about how black mommies must feel sad because they inherently understand that those moms want the same things that the white mommies want for their children, to be safe and accepted. Be aware of your own issues related to race and ethnic differences. Acknowledging racism and talking about it with your children does not mean that you're a racist. It doesn't mean that you have to feel bad. It does mean you have to speak up and become more aware. As a white parent, we have a responsibility to talk with our kids about race. And stop asking your black friends to continue to explain why Black Lives Matter. It's ignorant and it's victimizing. 100 conversations. This is what I talk to all of my clients about. Anything worth talking about means talking about it a lot. Lots of little conversations over periods of time make a big difference, and starting at a young age has been proven to discourage racial prejudice over a person's life. Hopefully, these tips help you begin to think about and create dialogues for you to have with your children about race. Remember, it should be the first discussion of many. Thanks for watching the MotherLoad.